How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel showing off Decorum, the oversized hardcover by Jonathan Hickman and Mike Huddleston, published by Image Comics and retailing for $39.99, $40 US. Very nice. No dust jacket, just a straight up hardcover the way I like it. Before I get too deep, I'm not going to be spoiling too much about this book. I'm going to be flipping through a lot of the art, though, so if you're worried about being spoiled, read the book first, come back after. I'm going to be attempting to do more of a review than I typically do when I cover a book. Usually I like to think of it more as an overview, because I don't really go deep on plot. But I do like to convey my thoughts still at the bare minimum and just kind of say basic surface level stuff. I really just want to show off the book normally. Here I want to show off the book, but I also don't think that you need to know a lot of the plot to review this book. It's more of like a feeling thing for me, at least. Most of my thoughts on this book I can kind of say without saying much of the plot. I can convey the my thoughts on this without having to give anything away, I think. So I'm going to attempt to do that, but there might still be a little more spoilers than normal if you're worried about that. Decorum, like I said, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Mike Huddleston, letters by Russ Wooten. Sasha E. Head did the design, which she did a phenomenal job. Let's get into what this book is. And first off, I want to say it's an art book for me, and that's not to discredit Jonathan Hickman. That is to give more credit to Mike Huddleston, because any book drawn like this, regardless of the writer, is an art book to me because it is just insane. Here's page 1. Page 1 has 3 different art styles on it, all equally gorgeous, all so consistent and clear and how can I say it, like practiced. He seemed like he's been drawing in this style and this style and this style his whole life, but it's 3 different styles and he couldn't possibly have. So you've got a very painterly style here. I'm sure it's all digital, but it doesn't matter. Very painterly style up here, black and white screen tone kind of thing going on right there. Very simple and clean. Similar style here, but very real ink washy, a lot more depth to it, and more painterly style. Kind of a half and half between these. If you combine these 2 styles, you get this. And that's page 1, baby. That's just off the rip. And then we get more and more. I'll talk about the different art styles in a bit, about why I think they happen, or kind of like the absence of why I think they happen. Like, I don't think there is a reason necessarily, but as I was saying, this is an art book just because Mike Huddleston cannot be outdone. He is in the vein, for me, of J.H. Williams III and his series Echo Lands, where he is just flexing his artistic muscles constantly, just showing off, just saying, I am the best in the business at what I do. And I don't know if you can argue. He did Butcher Baker Righteous Maker with Joe Casey at Image as well, and I have that hardcover. And that book too, good story, good plot. I enjoyed it. It's an art book because Mike Huddleston just decided to just destroy every single page. And he's done books where he does one singular style, and it's not very flashy. It's clear and consistent and practiced and really good. And it makes for a good comic, good storytelling. But it's not nearly as flashy. But when he shows off like this, like look at this page too. Really crystal clear, black and white, stark lines. Almost Sergio Topi-esque over here. But then you have this one character here with this geometric, digitally colored kind of like... I say digital not because it's important, the medium that it was done in, but it looks like almost like a cyberpunk-esque like digital suit he's wearing. Like it's almost a hologram looking because of the way it clashes with the rest of the style. That's what I mean by digital. Yeah, I need to... Okay, anyway, that's why. So if you're working with Mike Huddleston, you better be the messiah of comic book writing, or else you are going to get outshined. And I love Jonathan Hickman. He's one of my favorite writers working right now. But even he gets kind of outshone by Mike Huddleston because he's just... No one can compete. That being said, I enjoyed the story. It's just... I don't want to say it's a bad story. It's just that the art is an 11 out of 10. So the story here, we start with the this conquistador-looking robot invading this island of what seems to be kind of primitive people until they whip out crazy magical beam weapons. And then we have this shifting of the style, as I talked about. I originally assumed this shifting was kind of to show a perspective change, where we're seeing from the Islanders' perspectives this beautiful style, and then when we get to, which that doesn't even work, because this would be another Islander style of like another perspective of an Islander looking over the trees, because the Conquistador is out here, so that doesn't even work anyway. But what I thought was, this is the robot's perspective. Everything's very simple, stark, robotic, like here and here. And look at this style. It's like, that laser is just one line, solid color, actually a little bit of screen tone almost, but very solid colors, just silhouetted. And that's what I thought the robot's perspective was. And then when we get back to the Islanders and they're blasting, that's all the very painterly style. Hit them with one of my favorite like Dune concept artists, which is a narrow category, but a lot of artists kind of worked on the concept for the Dune movie, the original one, and Chris Foss did spaceships that look just like this. This is a rip of a Chris Foss spaceship, and I say that lovingly. I love that either Hickman or Huddleston had the idea to just use those designs, or the idea of those designs. It's not one-to-one, I'm sure, but it looks just like something Chris Foss would have done, and it's amazing, and they're used a lot in this, and I love it. This is almost a concept art style, just so bare, very digital, like plates of color. Like you can just see the separations of each little blotch of color. Straight, stark lines. These lasers are just one straight line of color. And what we get to know for these sequences, in terms of story, is the robot works for these geometric, black-colored kind of... they're not robots. They're these geometric beings, and they are after the crystal from The Sims, but it's pink. That's what one of my friends said it looked like, and I can't unsee it. So these geometric dudes, they want this crystal. That's what we need to know. And that is a cosmic level, making and ending the universe type plot, right? So we have, on one hand, we have that gigantic arch, huge kind of plot thread going through this book. Beautiful, beautiful splash page here by Huddleston. So we have that going on. And then the other half of the book, we have the story of a courier who is desperately trying to claw her way out of debt to, she's keeping her family or friends or someone in the stasis chamber so that eventually they can be taken out and cured of a disease that has not yet been able to be cured. So she's constantly in debt. She's working as a courier. It's a very dangerous job. She doesn't really like it, and she's not treated well. As you can see, the style has changed again to a more sketchy. There's interesting, worn quality to the paper. It's supposed to be kind of like sepia almost, with these just red out of nowhere. This style doesn't really even... No, it does return. But now we're on a more grounded plot line. And obviously, when you have these two plot lines, eventually they're going to converge. And I won't say how that happens, but it does happen quite late in the book, but in a very explosive way. And she, spoilers, I suppose, for issue 1 of an 8-part series, goes to deliver her package that she's supposed to deliver and runs into an assassination attempt and gets kind of pulled into the world of the assassins, Chris Foss. And that's where our story really picks up, is we've got these crazy geometric beings chasing after this universe-altering crystal thing, which is actually just a home for the actual MacGuffin. The MacGuffin is an egg that's inside the crystal thing. And we have this courier wrapped up in the world of the assassin, and eventually kind of, going on to maybe become one or fight with them, or, everything gets kind of wrapped up into each other. I would say the plot lines don't even converge till well after the halfway point of the series. In terms of the plot, big hits, very fun, action-packed, funny jokes, which is not something I expect from Hickman a ton, but he does have humor in his work. Sci-fi concepts, that's one thing I expect from Hickman, and that's something you get a lot of. Some of them are really tropey sci-fi stuff that you've seen a lot, and I saw that accusation leveled at this book that he uses a lot of really basic sci-fi tropes. I wouldn't say a lot of the ideas Hickman has are basic. If you're comparing the ideas in this book to his other books, they might be basic. But, it's pretty advanced, science fiction stuff. The simplest thing he has in here is like the use of AI, and he uses it in such a complicated way, and like you have to understand the history of it and the complexities of the creator and then God, but the creator is the creator of God. And then the singularity, I suppose, could be a trope, but it's used in a very original way, and I don't think that can really be a criticism of this book, in my opinion. Maybe I don't read enough sci-fi or like hard sci-fi to really get that stuff down, but I also saw this called hard sci-fi. There is aliens and essentially magic in this book. This is not by any means hard sci-fi. But yeah, so I love the like big ideas. It's very, as I said, extremely arch and grand, this idea of the beginning and the ending of the universe with this egg and these beings that are chasing after it. And very Kirby-esque style here when we get to see the God. This is the presence of God here, which is kind of cool. You can see him going into this new style. Here, let me... entering this new kind of plane where the style is extremely different. You can even see the screen tone here. On one half of that and not the other. But on the other hand, I think that there's a personality lacking, which is a problem with a lot of Hickman's work that people have. This is the biggest one for me. A lot of people have said this about his other works. I haven't experienced it to this extent before, where we are really taking a top-down view on this story, and I wanted some more boots-on-the-ground perspective. I want to feel the personalities of these characters and know what they're thinking and kind of come to understand how they operate, and I can expect what they're going to do. I don't think that's really what happens here. I won't say that his characters aren't consistent, but there's questionable motivations and times when I think characters act in ways that I wouldn't expect them to, and that's well over halfway through the book. And in a story like this, I would expect that over halfway through a story, I understand the characters enough where I kind of get their personalities. And when I'm shocked by something that they do, I want to be able to say, wow, that's crazy, I didn't expect it, but it makes sense. And there's a couple times where I thought, does that really make sense with what I know about this character? I'm not sure it did. And sometimes Hickman's work is just lacking a human quality. And I think maybe I missed it in his other works, but this book he worked to bring a more human quality with jokes. Like sometimes it's one-liners, more like he brought more color out in the dialogue, and just injects a little humor into it to give it some life, and that works to an extent. He's not overdoing it, like it's not just quips all the time like a Marvel movie or anything, but it's not enough. It is better. It gives a little depth to the dialogue. It's not enough. I think there just was lacking a bit of a human quality. But that being said, I love a big, grand sci-fi plot, and I like Hickman's work, so I'm, like these problems are problems I've encountered before with his work, and I have said that I'm okay with them, and I've enjoyed things regardless. And that's what I did with this. I ended up giving, as I've said before, on my own personal list, I give every book I read a rating. I don't share them all in the reviews because they don't matter. They're just for me. But for me, I put this was a 10 in art, and I was going to give the story a 7.5. And then, this isn't really a spoiler because I kind of wish I knew this going in. The story is kind of complete, but there is a promised sequel that implies that the story is not really complete, and it, looking back, isn't really complete. The sequel feels... The way things end in this book feels quite necessary for there to be a sequel, to really feel like you've got a full story, a start to finish character arcs. I'm not sure if that's a retrospective, and maybe if it didn't say sequel coming, blah, 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 that I would have been happy with the character arcs. Maybe I would have. But knowing it says on the back page, this book will be continued in Decorum, whatever the title's going to be. And that is scary. So as I was saying, I was going to give this a 7.5. I gave it a 6.5 or a 7. I was conflicted. I haven't decided. Probably a 7. It lost some points because you don't know if Jonathan Hickman is going to make that sequel. I hate to say it, but Jonathan Hickman has dropped series before and just not continued them, or just said he's going to make a series and not made it. And so what I might have here is half of a story that will always be incomplete. And that's just, I can't know that. Oh, God, the art is so beautiful. I can't know that that's true or not. But it could be. And that really just contextualizes the entire thing, gives me a whole new perspective on, was this worth reading? There's one of our main characters here with like a little stat page. Sometimes, little interlude here. Hickman loves these little, like, I guess, what do you want to call them? There's an easy word for them I just can't think of. He loves these pages, like infographics, that's the word. He loves these little infographics and, like, design stuff. And sometimes it's really cool, and other times it is a waste of space. I hate to say it. East to West did it best, where he didn't have a bunch of infographics. He had, like, a cool quote with, like, a blank white page with a cool quote on it. It felt badass and impactful and, like, a dramatic pause in the story. Here, like, this isn't even anything, actually. This is the one I was thinking of. This one's kind of, like, cool because you get to see stuff that matters on the page, but now we've got made-up fantasy language, lines, pulling over to the side, continuing onto nothing. That's just an infographic of nothing. I know it's like this, and it connects to the art, but that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't add anything. If it was just this page, and then this was the next page, which it could be because this is a left page, this is a right page. You can cut all this here to here, and then he's looking at the same shape. Those shapes still make sense. This doesn't mean anything. What is this? Anyway, yeah, that's just a nitpick. But, yeah, is watching half of a movie, can that be a good experience? Or is watching a movie that is not finished and you need the sequel to understand the whole story, is that still a good movie? I don't know. I don't know. If this wasn't so pretty to look at, I would probably be pissed off. It's not a full story because they said it wasn't. And I don't even know if it was. I don't know if it would be if they didn't say it was a sequel. Like, it's killing me. I think I really would have liked the story a lot if I didn't know there was a sequel coming out. They should have just wrapped it up, and you could be like, that felt quick, and like there could be more, but I still liked it. But now it's like, that felt quick and like there could be more because there is going to be maybe in the future when Hickman decides to get around to it, and it might be 5 or 6 years, or it might be never. So I guess it's like a 6 out of 10 or something. I don't know. Regardless, I have been ranting about this for way longer. Thought this would be like a 12-minute video. Here's one sec. Really cool storytelling device. So we have year 2, year 3, and then I want to get to all the different years to show you. There we go. So we have this really cool storytelling device of this. I don't even need to tell you what's happening. It'd be kind of a spoiler. But here's some gorgeous art if you want to see it. Look at that. Huddleston is a monster. So, bottom right panel there. I have one hand to do all this. It's horrible. Doesn't matter. The beginning of the forming. It's almost Mobius-like with that thing floating above her. The shape, you can hardly see because it doesn't fit. The shape above her is getting to form more into a coherent shape. She's getting more wild, and there's stuff growing over her hair. More color being injected, very painterly, kind of. Even more growth happening here. And then I'll show you where we conclude. Perfectly round, egg-shaped. Absolute just jungle. And then a rainbow behind it. I thought that was a really cool. And this issue like takes course over like 3 years, so it's showing the passage of time with that and the progression of this character's kind of story. It was awesome. And so in terms of like cool storytelling techniques and beautiful art and cool concepts and even like cool plot moments and things like that, it's all very good. It's all very showy and kind of flamboyant and out there and awesome. It punches you right in the face with all of its ideas, but not all of them are perfectly executed. Once you start taking a look underneath, pacing sometimes a little off, Characters are questionable. I still liked it a lot. I don't know what's going on, but I loved it. It's probably the art. And I just like Hickman. I could see people absolutely having a disdain for this book and for Hickman as a writer, but for me, I'm really there for the big ideas, and I'm there for the great art, and I'm there for the innovation of the thing. It doesn't need to be perfect for me. It needs to show me something new and to kind of just like use the medium that I love in an effective way. And I think it did that. I think as a comic it works. As a script, maybe it didn't. But as a comic, it works. So my rant's over. I ranted way longer than I thought. Sorry for repeating myself constantly. There should be a haul this week. I finally got my package in the mail from December. And then I started getting like drip-fed Amazon orders and pre-orders and stuff. And the last one is here tomorrow. So I should finally have all the books I was waiting for. So I'm happy I'll finally get to do a haul video. If you read this, let me know what you thought, because I'm sure there's just a really big tear in the community about if it was good or not. Or maybe no one thought it was. I thought it was. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace.